the engineering head then came one day and he
Yeah.
said, Ujjwal, you are a young man, so I am giving you, along with the BHL, to see that the boiler is in position for light up. So now go
Hmm.
ahead. So I went and the site in charge and he gave me something, a plug list item of 960 items. In my entire stay of 21 years, that had it been some other place, people would have spent some 100, 200 crores to augment another 5, 6 megawatt or 7 megawatt. So without spending hardly 2 crores, we could augment it by several percentage. So this is
Wow.
something whether somebody recognizes or not, but technically, professionally, it gives me a lot of satisfaction. This is one.
So, great morning, audience. It's a beautiful Sunday, and today we have got with us somebody who has been inspiring me. And probably the interesting thing is that he might not have been aware of the fact that he has been inspiring somebody who has been trying to inspire some people. So, today our guest is Mr. Ujjwal Chatterjee, and he has been one of the very senior leaders in Tata Group and other organizations. We're going to talk a bit about this. And audience, now I'm talking to you for a couple of minutes. I've been in the city of Pune and I see people, many people leaving for their office at 7 o'clock in the morning and then they come back at 9 o'clock in the night. And this goes until the age of 60 years. And then people say that this is life. Of course, so what happens between those 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. is something which is different story. The work does happen, but there are a lot of other things also which happen. And then what I've seen is that there are just a few people who work and they leave. They actually enjoy their work. They also take out some time to see places, meet people, enjoy life. And I have been following Mr. Ujjwal Chatterjee over the last many years on some of these social media pages, thanks to Mark Zuckerberg, because I've been using some of these things like Facebook for, I think, for the right reasons. And I think that's true with Ujjwal sir as well. And recently, Ujjwal sir came back from a road trip, which actually put me to a bit of embarrassment because I used to take a bit of pride while telling people that once I took my car from Pune, I went to Ahmedabad. From there, I went to Jaipur. From there, I went to Delhi. From there, I went to Haridwar and came back. And in total, I had driven my car for 4,000 kilometers. Ujjwal sir is recently back from a trip to South India. He is based out of Bhubaneswar, and the total kilometers that he shared was something around 4,800 kilometers, if I'm correct, 4,600 or 4,800 kilometers.
Yep.
Long distance drive is the best way to enjoy the road trip, to know people, to feel the places and food and culture. And let me stop here. Let me move on to the guest for today. Thank you so much, Ujjwal sir, for having accepted this invitation, for being the guest in today's Heart to Heart conversation. And I'll just take a 1 minute so that I can talk a bit about Ujjwal sir's journey. Ujjwal sir started his journey as a graduate trainee, graduate engineer trainee in Tata Steel, if I'm correct, Tata Steel. He worked in Tata Steel for 21, more than 21 years. And in his last position in Tata Steel, he was the chief of engineering services at a division called West Bokaro, the same division which has shaped many people and many lives, including my life. And then he joined Reliance for some time, and then he again came back to Tata Group. He joined a company called Tata Sponge Iron Limited, and there he was in senior leadership positions. And then he was in Tata Steel Long Products, which I think was the new name for Tata Sponge. And then he also joined for some time, Aditya Birla Group. He was the project head of Radhikapur East Coal Block, and before that, he has been the chief of mines, chief of engineering. He currently is working with a company called Alvarez and Marsal. I think it's one of the multinationals. He's one of the most renowned names in the field of business development consulting. And it has been more than almost, I think, 38 years. So this is the first little query, Ujjwal sir. When you look back on your journey of 38 years, and I also, of course, noticed one thing that when it comes to looking at your experience while working in Tata's, it goes into years. When it comes to looking at your experience in non-Tata companies, it goes into months at times. So we'll certainly come to that. So do you also, agree with the ideas that once a Tata person, always a Tata person? I know that it's true. In our heart, we always carry a bit of Tata, even if people leave Tata. So we'll come to that later on, sir. This is for the first time in the history of heart-to-heart conversations that one question has been out before it comes to the guest. Ujjwal sir, so let's come back to the basics. Let's start with one little query. When you look back on your journey, 38 years, which are those initial few thoughts which come to your mind? And then we'll move on to some other questions which we have already given some indication about. Once again, thank you so much for being the guest in today's heart-to-heart conversation.
So, these 38 years, what you are referring to, I'm sure you are referring to my professional life of
Professional,
30.
professional life. Yeah, you're right.
So, obviously, as you have very rightly narrated, most of the time had been with the Tata Group of companies. And since I joined them as a graduate engineer trainee, so obviously a lot of soft corner remains there. And to be very honest, I joined not in the steel plant in Jamshedpur, as you are aware. So I joined in their underground mining division in Jamadoba,
Mm.
which when I came in and joined, the first time I went down their shaft in the underground, I thought I landed up in a wrong place. I think this is not the place where I should have been. A lot of smoke and a lot of steam was coming out. The sand was hot, humid. So
Yeah,
I said, I did my mechanical engineer. My father wanted that if you could do mining from ISM, which I couldn't do. Then I said, then if I haven't done mining, then why am I here?
yeah,
And then in between in the campus, I missed out on some of the good automobile industry. That those days there were no IT and
yeah,
there was no laptop, no computers or personal computers. So naturally, those options were very, very limited. So
yeah,
we need to look upon or fall back upon PSUs or on the core industries, manufacturing industry. So those are the options.
yeah.
So I was initially very sad, that where have I come down? So somehow then I started looking into, and since mechanical and one of my very favorite subject was steam turbine and
Mm.
this thing, thermodynamics. So
Thermodynamics. Mm.
I used to, or automobile. These are the two very, very favorite electives that I had chosen, and I was very favorite of them. So either automobile or power plant. Then somehow I came to know that in that division there is that time a new technology for the company and as well as for India as well. But the technology was a very proven technology. It was a fluidized bed combustion boiler, and I was told that the fuel they are going to use is very high ash washery rejects, and this is
Yeah,
time in India. Although there are certain similar projects going on, but nobody has commissioned. So, if you can try your luck and if you can get into it, something new you can learn and understand. So, actually, that drove me. Although I
mm.
remained with Jamadova for 11 years, but hardly 6 months, I went down the shaft and went into the underground. So most of the time I spent in these fluidized combustors. And to be very honest, it was, after my completion of training, uh, the BHL was the turnkey project contractor
Yeah,
and they were doing the job. So the engineering head then came one day and he
yeah.
said, Ujjwal, you are a young man, so I am giving you, along with the BHL, to see that the boiler is in position for light up. So now go
Mm.
ahead. So I went and the site in charge and he gave me a plug list item of 960 items.
Ah.
So we'll have to close all these 960 items and then we go for light up. That was, and I haven't seen in my lifetime what a boiler look like, what I have seen in my books and copybooks and all that.
Mm,
So that
mm,
was
mm,
something very, very exciting, very challenging. And there was hardly anybody who you can fall back upon. It is all that you have to do. And
mm, mm,
actually,
mm,
my career with Tata Steel and that division, actually, that was my first love, the fluidized bed combustors. And I mastered in lighting up the boiler. And
mm.
there was the first time I came down to West Bokaro as a technical officer, there was a huge issue in power plant. And
Yeah.
Mr. Kocher said me that Ujjwal, you have a lot of experience on that boiler. And we spent whole night and the next day morning we could light up that boiler. So
Yeah.
those were the success stories that gave me a lot of impetus to continue with the
Yeah.
company. And to be very honest, that time Tata Steel raw material division was one of the highest paying division.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
2,250 rupees was the take home salary in 1985 as a
Wow.
graduate engineer trainee, and little less than that was being paid by ONGC. And rest
Okay.
all the PSUs were paying either 1,100 or 1,200.
We are talking
So
about 1985, right?
85,
1980s.
yes. So those
1985,
those were motivating stories, And this
Hmm.
fluidized-based combustion, it was a very small power plant, 10 megawatt power plant. But
Hmm.
to be very honest, I went deep inside and in
Hmm.
depth, especially the combustor portion, the fluidized, and then I also mastered a lot of things on circulating fluidized bed.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Little did I take interest in the turbine portion because I got engrossed with the boiler itself, and it was very,
Hmm.
very, satisfying to
Hmm.
work in
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
Then
Hmm. Hmm.
the story went like this. So when I went there after 11 years of experience, when I went there as technical officer, and then during my tenure as chief engineering services, a lot of expansion came in the West Bokaro division, and they said that
Hmm.
we generate these days 12 megawatt, we require another 10 megawatt. So 25
Okay.
megawatt we require. So what do we do? Then
Yeah.
I stepped into a shoes which was left behind by one of the very engineering accomplished person of Tata Steel, Mr. Om Narayan,
Om
and
Ganan,
he
yeah.
was heading that. And then I said, such a big challenge, and you have left everything for me. So another 10 megawatt, where do we come from? And how do we do that? And
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
the
This
first
is
challenge,
this is awesome. I'll just take a pause for half a minute. Awesome. This is because the audience, I think I would like to share with all of you that Mr. Ujjwal Chatterjee is one of those very few people in the country at the moment who are experts in designing the entire power plant which can run on washery rejects, mining rejects, which is a brilliant service to the nation and to the companies. Because I think now Ujjwal sir, you people have been talking a lot about green making, green services, eco-friendly services and products. I think Tatas have been doing it since long. The same washery rejects which might be used maybe early in earlier days for making a road or something which is like less value-adding services. Now they started creating power, and we are talking about 10 megawatts and megawatts of power, which is awesome. And I think that's something which is going to keep you engaged for decades to come, sir. I know that currently you are advising many multinationals and corporates, and I think this is a very important knowledge which is backed by decades of experience, which is not easy. And of course, this experience has started with a job which had 960 elements. We are just talking about lighting up a boiler. That's what audience, I think, is something which is very interesting. When you look at things from a distance, it's just a power plant. And as you get closer, you start seeing that, while talking about just one aspect of power plant, we are talking about just lighting up the boiler. You have got 960 actions. And that's what I also saw when I started getting deeper into the field of human transformation. As you get closer, the world becomes in high resolution, and then you start seeing a lot of actions which just start opening up. Amazing, sir. You may like to continue. I think you're saying something, then some technological blip happened. I used that to my advantage to share something with the audience. And then if you want to share something else, you can. And then, of course, I'll share something.
the one of the things very satisfying moments and achievements I do consider, and it gives me a lot of solace that whatever I picked up in my first 11 years of work
Yeah.
during my stay in Jamadoba, although it was very hectic,
Hmm.
very gruesome, and those days the ecological as well as environmental norms were not so stringent.
Yeah.
So sometimes the ESP used to blow off a lot of fly ash. Then the
Hmm.
coal handling plant used to throw a lot of coal dust. So with a
Yeah.
handkerchief on the nose, we used to work. Although sometimes we used to think that this is not the way we should work. And
Yeah.
of course, now these days nobody will accept those. So
Wow.
the things and the company's profitability was not so great those days, as you might be knowing. The whole economy didn't open up. There were
Mm.
some years when the profit margins of the whole entire company was so low. So the fund allocation was also not so high. So we had to
Yeah, yeah,
manage within a very meager resources. But nevertheless, whatever we could pick up, and I made a lot of friends while fighting with them. Like, so I had a lot of good friends in BHL Tiruchirappalli. So
yeah.
initially we used to fight a lot of fights and iron out differences, but they ultimately became very good friends. So when I
Right.
went to West Bengal and they needed a lot of power, so I found that there is a lot of opportunity in the existing boilers, in the existing setup itself. So
Yeah,
somehow or
yeah.
other, uh, basically very intriguing, and I thought that within the established capital, we should be able to extract more. What satisfaction it gave me when I was in the other division, when the company needed some more power, and within the established installation. So what we did is we modified the entire combustor with
Yeah.
the heating surface area, generating tubes design. And those VHL guys who were very good friends in Jamadova, they helped me out. They said that we are all there with you.
Yeah.
And the person who came to commission the boiler in Jamadova, while he had risen through the ranks, he again came back to West Bokhara. He said that Ujjwal, since you are there, so I will go and commission this boiler after modification. So in the same installation from 12 megawatt, we started generating 17, 18 megawatt. So the steam generation capacity went up. So the same installation, same everything, same manpower, but we could augment the steam generation capacity of these boilers. And that was the takeaway I could give back to this company in my entire stay of 21 years. That had it been some other place, people would have spent some 100, 200 crores to augment another 5, 6 megawatt or 7 megawatt. So without spending hardly 2 crores, we could augment it by several percentage. So this is
Wow.
something whether somebody recognizes or not, but technically, professionally, it gives me a lot of satisfaction. This is one area.
Mm.
The other area is, some of the look backs when as you asked me, the other area when I was there after the technical officer stint in the senior GM Coal's office, I was placed in maintenance head in the earth moving equipment in one of the quarries, if you remember. So then came the McKinsey's talk, Total Operation Performance, a program which Tata Steel imbibed in the early years to cut down cost.
Yeah.
That exercise gave me a lot of in-depth understanding, and then it helped me to build and learn, some of the basics those times like Excel, Word, which were
Be
something
working
new.
with, so you must be working with some of these youngsters who must have graduated from Whartons and Harvards and I'm Ahmedabad. I think of some of the young
Yes,
guys. And
yes, yes,
they must be great at Excel. I mean, we
absolutely.
used to envy some of these people, the way they used to create financial modeling. And of course, we also had some people within Tata Steel, like I recall Amit Agrawal. He also was talking about some of these experiences when Tata Steel had created a different company, a different vertical called a strategic outsourcing group in early 2000. And he was working with Whartons, Harvards, and I'm Ahmedabad and some of these guys. And he also used to talk about advanced Excel. So I can feel the kind of learning orientation which you've got. So it must not have been easy to work with these people. Over to you, sir. Go on. I think I just thought of something to
Yeah,
talk about.
that exercise, helped me not only to reduce cost for the company, but helped me to improve myself technically,
Mm,
professionally, and I learned a lot of things. And
mm,
some of my pillars of success, there are three pillars of success in Tata Steel in the entire 21 years, I can say.
yeah,
One is, as I narrated, which is very close to my heart, is the fluidized bed combustor.
yeah,
And is the exercise that we went through this top. And finally, I got a reward of 1 lakh rupee those days in 2001 or 2 from the CEO of Mr. Muthuraman, that time top, those who had successfully completed the project were rewarded handsomely. And that time, 1 lakh rupees was a lot of money. And third is open cast earth moving equipment maintenance tactics and strategies and analysis. So these are the three domain areas which I came out from Tata Steel of 21 plus and 20, almost 22 years of stay with working with Tata Steel. So these are the three
Hmm.
domain areas which I developed myself. So thereafter,
Beautiful, sir. Yeah. Yeah, go on,
the
sir, please.
career was going very fine. Absolutely, there was no issue with the company, but something very personal to me, very, very personal. So I thought I should come out and I left. It's not that I wanted to leave for the improving my, personal or professional this thing, but because of certain compulsions, I thought I should leave. And I left and I came out of that place. And perhaps one of the best decisions perhaps I had taken, because apart from professional, those time my children were growing up, and all these days we were living in some remote locations for the schoolings and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So then my family was in Bhubaneswar, and I left and went to Reliance. Now,
Yeah.
you had initially told me that Tatas and non-Tatas. See, it is rather I should tell you instead of uh,
Yeah.
terming Tatas and non-Tatas, let's term it like ownership-driven company and executive-driven company. Those
Absolutely.
are the right approaches
Absolutely.
of the company. Like executive-driven company is Tata Steel, Larsen
Yeah.
Tool, and several other companies. And
Yeah.
ownership-driven companies are obviously there are so many, and
No.
Reliance is one of them. Now, in ownership driven company, the focus is different, of course.
Yeah.
It is profiteering, target matching, and they reward you very, very handsomely if you are able to meet the
Yeah.
targets.
Hmm.
Whereas in executive driven company, finally it is the salary which you are drawing, whether here or there, little left and right, doesn't matter. Although there are a lot of professionalism came in slowly. Tata Steel itself graduated from one place to the other in all these things, even in HR and other things. But there is a world of difference between both these companies. So when I
Hmm.
left Tata Steel and came to Reliance, so if I have to raise a purchase equation in Tata Steel, I still remember that we had to type it out in a place of paper, and then the whole thing used to become digitized only when the order used to get released. But when I used to came in Reliance in that was 2006, everything was SAP driven. Everything was SAP.
Hmm.
Whereas Tata Steel that time they were just implementing the payroll, that too on the officers' payroll through SAP. So this is the difference. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that time initially when I came and joined in Reliance, I joined on one of the domain expertise of mine in the earth moving area. So PNL, they had a department called
Yeah.
Plant and Machinery, PNM. Now,
Hmm.
Plant and Machinery, they had a total budget of just, I'm telling you, for the second refinery of Reliance, they had a budget of 1500 crores only for cranes because
Hmm.
750 crores worth of new cranes they purchased and another 750 crores of worth of cranes they hired from all over the world. Now, in such a scale of operation, 10,000 meter cube of RCC pouring, we couldn't imagine in Tata Steel, in the whole entire project of one of the Tata Steel biggest project, maybe 10,000 meter cube of pouring will be done. Here it is in one
Hmm.
single day. So prefab
Hmm.
casting yard and the entire PNM department, oh my God, what a scale, what a scale. I could never have imagined. So,
Wow.
you
Wow.
know,
And thanks for sharing. Wow.
yes, so from 0 to 10 scale, in a scale of suppose 1 we were seeing in Tata Steel, I saw it is in 10. Although I was in few months because
Hmm.
before I joined, I got an offer in the same group,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
one of my very good well-wishers in Tata Group of company, they said that why are you leaving? You please come back. We have an opportunity in Odisha itself, so you can stay in Bhubaneswar and monitor the project
Hmm.
somewhere there. So
Yeah.
actually, I went to Reliance with a very clear objective that I am going to come back,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I had the offer that time already.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So after a few months, I came back, and the opportunity there, the work. that was given to me to develop a coal mine, greenfield coal mine, was a completely, different story. So
Hmm.
here,
Hmm.
we used to work within the four walls of a company premises. So anything going wrong, you just pick up the phone and uh, just inform somebody who will take care. But here you will have to do it yourself.
Ah.
And something which was very, very frustrating in the entire greenfield projects, which you might have seen, that
Hmm.
this uh, initiative, which the government rightly or wrongly had taken to develop these coal blocks, went for a toss because the other government which came in, they wanted to prove that these were all fraud. But although there are a lot of frauds had taken place, but everything was not fraud. And
Hmm.
a lot of very, very honest and hardcore initiatives were there by some of the companies in the
Hmm.
green.
Hmm. Hmm.
But everything went for a toss with the Supreme Court order. And
Yeah.
as I
Yeah.
said, in this opening or in this position where I was placed, I had spent a lot of time in Delhi in mainly High Court
Ah,
and Supreme Court to
that's a
go
different
through
story.
the
I can
legal
make it.
process because there was a lot of legal litigations and it was starting from land acquisition, so picking up the
Hmm.
local language, communicating with the villagers, communicating for the best interest of them. Then there were a lot of
Hmm.
vested interest parties with whom you
Yeah.
have to have. Then there were some private companies who were there were people who were throwing cash and getting out, which we couldn't do in Tata's. So
Hmm.
there were a lot of challenges, to be
So
very honest.
different. I can see change differences. Yeah. Yeah. So thanks
Yes,
for
so
being so.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
entire technical work to work which you have to establish a business. So from establishing a plant to establishing a business. So
Hmm.
this journey of mine in next few years was establishing new business.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
finally, although we were almost there to open up the mine when the Supreme Court order came, and then we started another journey of Tata Sponge, which had a lot of surplus cash. Then now we should graduate from sponge to steel. Then another opportunity was given to me that you work out a project, doable project, and so that we can go for 1 million ton of special steel. Now that was another fabulous opportunity I had. Had I been West Locker or in Tata Steel in a bigger company, I would not have got these opportunities or opening to improve myself. And those were very, very good days in my career. At the same time, my family was based out of Bhubaneswar. My children had a good schooling from Bhubaneswar, and the entire thing worked out very well. So that was my journey, and in Tata Steel, Tata Sponge, Steel Long Product. Then finally, of course, we did go for a greenfield 1 million special steel. We acquired Usha Martin Steel Division. So that was
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
next which happened. And although the entire mm, back office work was done by Tata Steel mergers and acquisitions, but finally, again, when it came to take over of their mineral assets, then again I went in and stepped into their shoes, went to Ranchi, got all their iron ore and coal blocks
Yeah.
merged to us and recommissioning the mines. So that was my nutshell, professional story of 36, 37 years. Then, of course, after my retirement, I worked for some time with the Aditya Birla Group, say one and a
Yeah.
half years or so.
Yeah.
Some of my old leftover projects were there, and that was also a good uh,
Hmm.
exposure
Hmm.
with a different group. But that was again, after my retirement, and
Yeah.
then came an
Yeah.
opportunity to work with Alvarez and Marsal, and now basically with them I had been working with EBITDA improvement, productivity improvement. So I was there with one of their projects in Mozambique for a few months, almost
Okay.
6, 7 months I worked with them. I had been on site also for 2, 3 weeks, and that was a very good exposure.
Wow. Wow.
So what I mean to say is that with 22 years in Tata Steel, with a very, very cozy situation. Cozy means everything was set up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you have to just step into something which is already there. And thereafter, another few years which I worked was completely different. And I would say that my growth and maturity and whatever accomplishment I had personally and professionally was more when I came out of Tata Steel, because it's a bigger company, was
Yeah.
very, very fulfilling. So now,
Mm-hmm.
after this, I don't work very, very strictly. I thought that I have spent enough time for others or the companies. So now I should spend time for me, my own self. And I would like to enjoy the rest of the time whenever, as long as I'm active, either moving around, meeting people. And so that is how one of my long cherished dream was a long drive. I used to drive a lot whenever I was young. But these days, now after my retirement, I have bought a new car. And the only purpose is to move around in the country. So I have completed my Tamil Nadu trip. Next trip will be Madhya Pradesh, and then the
Wow.
third trip will be somewhere else. So this is how. And one of my driving factors in this road trip is there are two persons whom I cherish. There was one doctor in Tata Steel Medical Division, Dr. Lat, who was GM Medical Services. So Dr. Lat is now almost 84, 85 years old.
Yeah.
So I met him in Hyderabad. His son Rahul, who has been a junior in our school, he is also a neurological surgeon in Apollo Hyderabad. So I met them all. And then I invited Dr. Lat to come down to Bhubaneswar. So he said, yes, obviously I will be there. And he said, I have very nostalgic memories of Gopalpur. And see, when I was in Jamshedpur, I used to often drive down. So the man who was 82 years old, he and his wife, who takes two times insulin injections every day,
Mm.
and both of them drove down from Hyderabad to Bhubaneswar in a Santro car.
Wow. Wow.
So I asked Rahul, how could they leave their parents? He said, there's nothing wrong. They are enjoying the situation, let them enjoy. So that is
Uh,
one. And then I have a very good friend in Delhi who is a lawyer in Supreme Court. His mother, who is again 75, 76 years old. One day my friend rang up. My mother is driving from Trivandrum to Delhi via
yeah.
Kolkata. So they would like to have some good chilka fish. So can you arrange somewhere on the route? I said, yes, there is a very good dhaba. I can arrange that. So tell me the time. I will organize that. So,
Yeah.
and then I asked, how come that you are driving on the road? Well, that is what is my passion, and it gives me very big satisfaction when I
Hmm.
see people,
Hmm.
I meet people. So,
Hmm.
living down, sometime we feel, although these days, when we were young, neither such good roads were there, nor such good cars were there. Now
Hmm.
that both have improved, so why
Yeah.
not? So that
Wow.
is why
Wow.
undertake, and of course, I'll continue to undertake road trips. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So, audience, the picture which you can see in the backdrop is one of the many pictures which Ujjwal Chatterjee sir has shared with all of us on Facebook. So, I've downloaded some of the pictures. So, I think this is an amazing phase of life and career, sir, when you have been meeting people, visiting places. This is something which I think, as you rightly said, it's becoming more and more feasible nowadays with better roads coming up. When I came from West Pokara division to Pune in 2006, I was amazed to see Mumbai Pune Expressway. Wow, it was mouth watering. I said, this is the place. I want to be in this place, man. Why did I not come to this place earlier? And then we started driving. We used to go to Panchgani, Mahabaleshwar, this and that, and this and that, and this. And we used to drive on every weekend. And then I used to get a realization that India probably is multiple Indias in one India. Because that time, I think western part of country, including Gujarat, Karnataka and Maharashtra had better roads. But now I think, thankfully, all the parts of the country have got beautiful roads. Isn't it true? Now I think roads are coming up in different parts of the country, which is awesome, which is great. And sir, we spoke about your professional journey. which has a span for close to 38 years. And of course, you used a word which I do not agree. You used a word called retirement. I don't think a person like you is ever going to retire. I can say that you will put some even younger people to shame when it comes to your personality or activity level and you meeting people and traveling to different parts of the country. So retirement is a word which will never use. It does not suit you. I mean, having seen some of your activities on Facebook, great. And this is a lighter note. Sir, another thing, I also saw that you have studied from some of the best of colleges, BIT Sindri, and let's go back a little down the memory lane. And I recall when I was studying in BIT Meshra, Birla Institute of Technology Meshra, from this little place called Sindri, we had five people, and among five people, I was the only person who was from Science College Patna. Remaining all the four people were from your college, from your school rather, Dinobli School. Would you like to talk a bit about schooling? Because nowadays people talk a lot about schooling. Nowadays there is a movie called 12th Fail, where it shows that somebody who couldn't get any schooling kind of, he also has achieved, and people are going gaga over the stories. Having said that, I know that good schooling is good schooling. It really helps a good student. A good student with good schooling can actually surpass many obstacles. So all the four people that I spoke about, those people who were from Dinobli and they are studied from BIT Mishra, they're all settled in different parts of the world. They're doing so well. Let's talk a bit about your school days, sir, and your college days, BIT Sindri, a bit. Any memory which you think shaped your thought process, your life and journey going forward? Anything which you want to share?
Yeah, actually, I was born in Sindri.
Hmm.
My father was a chemical engineer and he had spent his lifetime with fertilizer industry. So
Okay.
Sindri fertilizer plant was post-independence the first fertilizer plant in the independent India, which came up with the
Wow.
Russian support. And then there were some big dignitaries like Khrushchev and Nehru used to visit. So although when I was born, Sindri was it was a very cosmopolitan town with people from all across the country. Although it was in Bihar, but you would hardly find that it is actually in Bihar. It was a very cosmopolitan industrial town that time, very well
Yeah.
laid out, beautiful town. Of course, later on the story went differently, and we are aware of it. So, in my initial childhood days, entire schooling days was from Sindri, and I studied from Tinobli School, which is almost 780 kilometers away from Sindri. It was that time one of the convent school located in that area. And I have got very fond memories of that school, and I still relish going back to the school compound. I had been there for so many times. The some of the teachers I still remember those days, and two of the English teachers. One is Dr.
Hmm. Hmm.
Joseph in Kerala, and one of the teachers is no more. He's the English teacher. Both the English teachers, and I have got very good fond memories. Then that school actually gave a lot of opportunities, and those days I was very fond of photography. There was black and white. There was no hardly any color photography those days. No digital. Everything was, you would develop a solution and printing, enlarging. And our school had a very, very beautiful setup of photography club and a dark room. So I had spent a lot of time in that dark room in doing photography, taking photographs, developing the reels, and then printing.
Wow.
So those days, we had a 5 days in school those days, Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday used to be off. And I used to cycle down from Sindri to the school to spend some extra hours in the dark room and do some photography work. So those were some of the
I'll take a pause here
very,
because
very
just to inform you that I was born. Both of us share one thing in common. We both were born in Sindri. So maybe in the same hospital you might have been born. Sindri, you had one
yes,
hospital.
I was born in Sindri Hospital.
Yeah. So
Yes.
we both share the birthplace. And I still have got a house in Sindri where my younger brother lives once in a while, because now the city in a town is again it's getting resurrected, but still in between it was not a very good phase for it. One of the most beautiful towns which one can think of. I'm talking about those olden days which you spoke about. And of course, the
Yeah.
distance which you're talking about, the distance which you used to travel while cycling was not a small distance. I think 7 to 8 kilometers is not a small, and that also through some of the
Yes.
roads which are not in good condition. So it shows your passion for photography,
No,
which
no.
again is getting reflected in your travel, which you are
Yes. I used
which
to
was
drive,
dedicated.
I used to ride the cycle all along the railway track. And from Sindri, I used to drive between the railway track, go to marshalling yard, from there get down to Pathardhi, and from Pathardhi I used to ride along the road. So that was
Wow,
to my journey.
that's the passion of actually being connected with places, which is of course which has been extended even till now, which is great, awesome, sir. Great. So people talk a lot about leadership and some of these things. You have been a great leader. You have worked in multiple companies in among multiple cultures. Would you like to talk a bit about what is leadership in your opinion? Because I think it will be a pleasure for the audience to hear from you, who has gone through the experiences. Yeah.
Well, this is a subject which you have brought up is something very commonly talked about, and it has got different implications. And I consider this as something very, very, serious. Now, what is leadership? I mean, say leadership in a corporate world is different. Leadership in a ownership-driven company is different. Leadership in a executive-driven company is different. Leadership in army is different. Leadership in hospital is different. So, but there are certain thread
Yeah.
which unites or basically which makes a leader a successful.
Yeah.
First and foremost, what I think is somebody who is good leader has to be very people friendly. He should be very comfortable with all his people, all around him, whosoever it is, big, long, fat, thin, or fair, dark, whosoever it is, the person should be so comfortable with people
Mm.
and corresponding with people is first and foremost. Unless and until you can communicate well and communicate the way complete, driven home. There is a phrase called, have I driven home the idea? So I think as still you are able to drive home the idea you think is
Yeah.
important,
Yeah.
I think the leadership quality falls apart there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is
Mm.
one. And the second is people should love you, people should adore you, people should trust you.
Mm. Mm.
Once
Mm.
these are some of the key points which if it is there within the team, then the leadership will as such will emerge out of it. जिसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं उभर के आएगा. So it will
Mm.
emerge out of it. And then finally you will have an objective. And to meet the objective, I think uh, collaborating is one of the key. You
Yeah.
might think that you can drive things the way you want, but collaboration is one thing which actually teaches in Tata Steel, which is not
Absolutely.
there so much in an ownership-driven company. In an
Mm.
ownership company, the decision making is almost similarly, but
Mm.
collaborating and then taking a collective decision is something which our country teaches us in the democratic way of setup. And my life in Tata Steel also says that it is, once upon a time it used to run more on a democratic way with a collaborative. Even now also I saw a lot of
Mm.
collaborations.
Mm.
But
Mm.
finally, these are some of the key points. Although leadership is an area where we can spend days together,
Yeah.
hours together. I don't want to get into that, but it's a very, very serious thing. And meeting the objective is if you think that is the prime or that is a fallout of these good qualities, that is what I think is debatable. But I firmly believe that all these aspects, if are fulfilled finally, you will meet your object. It will finally happen.
Great. Oh, this is amazingly said, sir.
Yeah.
It's better.
So in
Yeah.
leadership, my personal experience has been that if I keep all these areas strong, communication, collaborations, and trust, and people all agreeing, if you're taking the group along with you, then finally the results are bound to come. So if we want to keep the results in front of all those things, I think we'll put the cart before the horse. So
Yeah.
that will not be the right approach.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sir, you have said it very, very, I think, effectively, impactfully. I think audience just you may like to take a pause, pause the video, rewind over last 5 minutes time, and maybe you may like to go through it once again. Making people feel comfortable is something which I have seen as a common factor among all the great leaders, which when I look back on my journey. So making people feel comfortable while being interactive with them. That's what I said. I'm not saying that you don't have to challenge people. Do challenge people to drive them out of comfort zone. But communication interpersonally it's very important. That's one very important aspect of leadership, and how to build that is something which you can which is I think people get a feeling that for many people it comes naturally. You can also build on this, you know. So Ujjwal sir, I've been doing a program at 5 o'clock. I do it at between 5 to 5:30, where many corporate people join. The idea is to just reflect, sit in silence, smile a bit, and then reflect back on last 24 hours and see as how we can build better connections. Once we are at peace within ourselves, we start talking to people, we start listening to people, we start building better connections. Actually, it all begins with us. It's a different topic, but audience, I think, is very important. This first quality is very important, a quality. The second thing, sir spoke about trust, for example. He used some of these words. How should people trust you? How should people adore you? He also used this word. Now, people will adore you if you are a person who is saying something which you are doing, right? There is no gap. People are talking about role modeling. So, a leader, a great leader, is somebody who is respected by people because he is actually doing things which are, he is being trusted by people. So, there is no gap when it comes to saying and doing. And also, role modeling is something which people talk about. So, I think it's all about building great connections and then being respected by people, being trusted by people, and of course, having collaborations with people, which is automatically going to be possible once you take care of some of these things. So, when I think about my interactions with you in the past, I also recall one thing that I'm talking about the days before 2006 when I had the privilege of working with you. I also think of you as a person who was very calm, very composed, smiling. And even if people used to provoke you at times, because I have been a part of some of these meetings because I was working in the office of general manager, I used to see a lot of meetings. If there is one person that I can think of who was always calm and composed and used to always respond, never used to react, it's you. So, would you like to share something about this? Is it something which was there within you since childhood days, or is it something which is something which you would like to share with people? Because today generation, people keep on erupting at everything. Of course, there are a lot of reasons. Over to you, sir.
Yes. So I think uh, the composer is one of the greatest features one should carry with himself, and how you carry yourself and how you react and respond gives shows a lot of maturity of your own story. And if you are very at ease with yourself, then obviously I'm sure you will behave calm and will not react, you will respond. But if
Absolutely.
you are not ease with yourself, or something is pegging you, or some insecurity is bothering you, then obviously we respond little rashly, which I think is not desirable. Anyway,
Yeah.
so those are part of the old stories. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, very interesting. Very interesting. I'll keep on changing some pictures so as you narrate. So, sir has said something which is at the crux of human transformation and human success, with any situation. And I spoke about briefly this program which I do at 5 o'clock, where some people connect with me. It's all about self reflection, being at ease with yourself. If you've got some doubt, find the solutions. And what I've seen is that if people just reflect back on their life and journey, people just take this, journey which is known as the journey inward is the most powerful journey. I think people can transform their life and career, because what I've seen is that mostly people suffer in career and life because of not because of others, if you ask me, is because of the fact that we are not able to respond to situations, people, and things and questions in the right
Yeah.
way. Yeah. And that's the reason I always talk about the fact that the power lies within us. It's not there outside. And of course, people listen to some people like Sadhguru and some of these people. I always have seen that, and I've seen one thing in common, that if just somebody who has been reacting, who has been getting angry, who has been erupting in some of these meetings and all that, I mean, he's not having emotional calmness or intelligence, or whatever you call it, intelligence or whatever you call it, peace. If they just start spending some time in the morning with themselves, practicing some of these habits, of course, now I have got a list of some 20 plus habits which people practice, and of course, by rotation, meditation, affirmations, reflection, looking within the journey and planning their day, looking back on last 24 hours and thinking of some of the solutions, some of the learnings or lessons, thinking about last 24 hours and feeling the sense of gratitude while counting some 10 to 15 things which have been going great. And people can do it in just a few minutes time. Initially, people get a feeling that, oh my God, my life is all in shambles. There's nothing to feel grateful about. It's all there. It's just that we have got to see. Just like as you get closer, going back to the same example which Ujjwal sir gave, even for one small activity which is a part of power plant operation and the kind of shutdown activity, even that one activity has got 960, 940 action items. So, and as you get closer and start knowing yourself better, you start seeing a lot of power coming out from within you. It's very interesting one. Of course, we will not take much time here, but thanks for sharing this, sir. This is absolutely at the crux of human success, transformation, joy, and all that which people can talk about. So in your journey, you must have hired many people. You spoke about very impactfully and to the point. You spoke about some of the traits which make a great leader. Would you like to talk about some of these qualities? Because now we're talking about youngsters and millennials and different generations coming into the job in the world of corporate. Which are the some of the qualities which you look for, which you used to look for, which you would advise other people who are hiring talents to look for while hiring people? Now it's a very changing generations and things are happening at a pretty fast pace. Those two or three qualities which you would repeat.
So, well, during hiring, you talk to a person for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes,
Yeah.
and you try to assess that whether he fits into the shoes for which you are hiring. Apart from reviewing their CV and all the documentations that they provide, basically you try and interact with them and see as to where do they fit in. Now, I'm not touching upon the job knowledge or domain expertise area. So that, of course, remains and
Yeah.
prerequisite. Obviously, without that, there's no standing. The rest of the thing is two, three things what we obviously look for. How analytical is the person, and how quickly can he change himself or adopt himself with a changing scenario.
Mm.
Then obviously, second is how comfortable he is with people and
Mm.
what are the baggage he's carrying, and how much time will it take to unlearn some of the situation if it is not so conducive for the work.
Yeah.
Basically, whether he is truthful enough in expressing himself and he is comfortable with people, if especially if it is people oriented job, if exclusively one-to-one technical job, which he doesn't, but nevertheless, at least 4 to 5 people in any place, in any workplace, somebody will have to interact.
Mm. 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 Beautiful. Beautiful.
Well, people friendliness, networking, then to what extent he adopts himself and how truthful he is in his
Yeah.
ex.
Yeah.
So these are
Yeah.
4 5 qualities, obviously, we try to look into it. Yes, I did a lot
Mm.
of hiring, which I never did or had an opportunity, except that when I was Tata Steel, I used to go for campus interview in the team to REC Rourkela.
Yeah.
So there was no one in my age that time who would represent that. So I had gone for twice with the campus interview team. and
Yeah.
put some young graduates for Tata Steel in West Bokaro. Apart from that, when I was in Tata Sponge and Tata Steel Long Products, I did lot of recruitment, especially for
Hmm.
new projects in coal mine, etc. And
Hmm.
some of the very good recruits also there. And yes, some are not so good recruit also had happened.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Hmm. Hmm.
there was a lot of learning in that. And I still cherish some of the very good recruits. And one of the recruits, Tata Steel hijacked from me after I left. So they picked up the guy and took them to Tata Steel from Tata Sponge. And some of the recruits we had to regret, of course.
Yeah, yeah, no, beautiful. So you spoke about Mr. Narayan and some of these people who have been stalwarts in the field of engineering, and you took over a mantle which you carried so effectively, so well, so successfully. Would you like to talk a bit about mentoring? Because I'm pretty sure that knowing you, you also might have mentored many people, directly, indirectly. Without some of these people even coming to know that they are being mentored, they must have got benefits and mentoring support from you. Would you like to talk about a few mentors in your life who you think shaped your life and career and thought process, who supported you? This question because we are in a world where people normally forget about mentoring and all. They think that I am the best, I know it all. No, I think there are many people who support and shape our thought. Is just that we do not know. We do not reflect on some of those things. So, anything which you would like to share?
Well, instead of using the word mentorship, what I
Yeah.
will say that in when we were young as graduate engineers and young in the company, this concept of mentorship was not there.
Mm,
So it was uh, in the open to
you're right.
fend for us and grow and establish ourselves. But yes, in West Bokaro, I had met very good people like Mr. Ramchandran, who as a
Mm,
person has been very, very nice to me. And during my difficult personal time, he was one of the rock solid person whom I still adore. And
mm,
took me out, you know. And then that time, then GM, and then next VP HR, Mr. A. Mishra. So these are the two persons whom I recall and cherish that I was lucky to have worked with them.
mm,
And they have been very good, very supportive, very, very supportive.
mm, mm, mm,
Some, some, some express, some do not express. And of course, I had similar senior people here in Tata Sponge and Tata Steel Long Products.
mm,
Had an
mm,
opportunity to work with Mr. DP Deshpande, who has been
mm.
oven and blast furnace expert, but he had been MD of Tata Sponge for quite some time, and I
Yeah.
worked with him. And he lives in Pune,
Mm,
and
mm.
recently he came and we had lunch together. So he had been also very supportive, both in technical and personal life. So some of them I do relish and cherish that I was very fortunate enough to work with them.
Beautiful. So, in case this video is being seen by Mr. DP Deshpande, sir, I would be so happy and privileged to have a coffee or tea with you because I'm also in Pune. Thank you for sharing, sir. This world is a very small world. If you know, it's a very interconnected world. Sir, another thing. So we have started this conversation while talking about, of course, career and of course. We also had a mention of some of the places which you have been traveling. Let's talk a bit about some of the places which make you feel like, wow, this is the place I want to go again and again. This is one picture. Is it Facebook's office in USA? Let's talk about. I think I can
Yes,
see
yes,
Facebook.
yes,
So
yes.
let's over to you about while in case you would like to share some of the places and your experiences, places which you love the most because you are a person who have been to many places. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, this was a 2018 tour. Actually,
Yeah.
my elder brother lives in Bay Area
Okay.
and daughter lives in Seattle. So we had been there for almost 2 weeks. This is the time when actually my daughter was doing her master's, and that time she was in very Oregon State. Now that she is in Seattle,
Mm,
we
great.
visit US sometimes in between intermittently, and US number of times I had gone.
Yeah.
I see that yes, that's a place I go for my personal visit.
Wow. What is the
But
place, sir?
uh, this is actually one of the wine valleys in Napa. It's not Napa Valley, it's in the other valley which is very close to California. It's in California actually. And
Beautiful.
there, there are a lot of good resorts there.
Yeah, beautiful.
And some of the good places, uh, Bali, of course, had been very fascinating.
Okay.
Maldives, of course, very fascinating, although it is there in these headlines for some wrong reasons.
Hmm.
And I long to visit. I haven't visited Italy actually. Some of the good places in Italy, like Florence and other places, those places I have in my agenda. And
Hmm.
this is from Maldives, the resort.
This is a
And
picture taken by you, Maldives.
yes, yes, yes. This is
Wow.
Maldives.
Wow. Beautiful. Sir, amazing, sir. You have been living a life which is a life well lived. And I know that we are going to be in touch for decades to come. When you look back on your journey so far, and suppose we write a book, suppose you write a book on your life and journey. I'm just taking an example, book slash video slash whatever, a movie, whatever. What do you think would be the title of that book? The book which would be based on your life and journey, on the life and journey of Mr. Ujjwal Chatterjee.
Well, obviously, my life story is limited to very few people, apart from what you see from outside. So, obviously, the title of the book will be The Untold Story. So, the untold story has to be told in that book.
Beautiful,
As
beautiful, beautiful. Sir, I think I would have loved to continue this conversation, but I can see that it's already 1 hour, 10 minutes. And as you rightly said, as you spoke about the title of the book, there are many untold stories which are not covered in this conversation. And may I be a little mean and selfish, and can I get your consent that we shall have at least 1 or 2 more conversations where we can talk about some of these untold stories later on? Because I know I'm talking to somebody who has got some of these essence of leadership, and we spoke about calmness and responding rather than reacting, and some of these qualities which are so much required in today's world, when all that most of the people do is to keep on scrolling through reels, and it's a world of distraction. We are talking to somebody who has been absolutely focused, and I know you as a person who was absolutely calm, focused, and used to always respond while using words which were actually required while responding. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and for sharing some of these nuggets of, I want to use this cliche, but these are actually nuggets of wisdom which are very much required. Audience, you may like to pause the video. We are towards the fag end of the video, and think about some of these basic inherent intrinsic qualities which we spoke about. These are at the crux of doing anything which can transform your life, which can also transform the life of people around you, and of course, the rest of the world. Thank you so much, sir. In case you want to share something else before we close the interaction, over to you, or else we'll thank you from the bottom of our heart for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you, Arun, for giving this opportunity, and it was very nice talking to you. I loved it after so many years we met and talked, and I wish you also a very success in whatever venture you are in right now, which I am not fully aware. Maybe we'll have a one-to-one talk. But
Thank you.
whatever you're trying to do, I find it very impressive, and that's why I wish you all the success.
Thank you so much, sir. It's always a pleasure to listen to you because it's always very to the point, concise, precise, and very focused.